Welcome back, everybody, to the Dragon's Lair. My name is Wade, and this is my show, Only Lore. Only Lore! In the grim dark of the 41st millennium, there is only lore. So today I want to talk to you about Tyranids and how they invade, attack, and digest a planet. I really love this whole process. I think it's really cool, well thought out. I love the lore behind it, and I love sharing lore with you. So let's get into it. So step one of the process I call infestation and infiltration. So throughout the galaxy there are hive tendrils. So you got to remember that Tyranids, everything is one organism. So like a gaunt is like a cell in the giant organism that is the Tyranids, and a dominatrix or a Norn queen might be an organ like a liver or a kidney or something like that. But millions upon millions and millions of, probably even trillions, of vanguard drones are sent out from the hive tendrils and probably even the conquered worlds in every direction for hundreds of light years. And their job is to seek out and find suitable worlds for consumption. Sometimes they land on asteroids, sometimes they land on planets, and basically anything that's floating through space. Other ships, space stations, all kinds of stuff. When something is found that might be suitable for consumption, the myetic spores descend upon the planet. Myetic spores are like drop pods for Tyranids, and what they're going to do is they're going to they land out in the wilderness, and the myetic spores are engineered to be stealthy. They're hard to detect. They don't show up on scanners very clearly. They're engineered that way to evade detection. So they land out in the wilderness, and they're going to release vanguard organisms, things like lictors and death leapers. And here is a death leaper, pretty cool. I run one in my rogue trader army, and I think they're really cool. They're like, death leapers are like super lictors. Okay. And even sometimes ripper swarms. They're technically a harvester unit, but the ripper swarms are all about infecting things like water sources and poisoning plant life and things like that, and other animals. So sometimes ripper swarms. They can also stow away on vessels, so they can like hide on ships and then get to things like space stations and infect space stations, things like that. Um, so they infiltrate and penetrate the planet. They hide for decades and centuries sometimes until a full-scale invasion shows up. um, the lictors, for example, their job is to gather every possible scrap of information. What's the planet like? What's the environment like? What's the ecosystems like? You know, is there mountains and deserts and oceans and all those things? They gather all that information. They have encyclopedic knowledge. They gather everything and they remember everything. What's the inhabitants like? What's their weapons like? What's their technology like? Things like that. Every piece of information is a weapon in the mind of a lictor. They have these very powerful brains, and they analyze and they dissect every weakness of an enemy. So that way, when the invasion fleet shows up, that information is transmitted to the invasion fleet, and then they know all of those things just instantaneously. At the same time that the lictors are causing all of their trouble because they assassinate people, they sabotage things, they poison water sources, they even like frame one country for the assassination of a different country's leader, things like that. There are supposedly stories in novels, 40k novels, where a lictor or a small group of lictors can terrorize entire planets because they manipulate the population into fighting each other, into killing each other off, and nuclear wars and stuff like that. So the lictors, they gather information, they sow distress, they assassinate individuals, and they sabotage things. At the same time, you have gene stealers at work. Now, what a gene stealer does is they go as deep as they can into the planet underground, under hive cities, in mines, things like that, and they build a nest. And once they have a nest there, they start kidnapping people. They abduct people back to their nest. And they give them what's called the gene stealer's kiss. the kiss does two different things. The first thing it does is it brainwashes a person into thinking that the Tyranids are like a savior, an alien race that's going to come down and they're going to save us all and make everything wonderful and great. And the second thing it does is it manipulates their DNA so that when those people start having babies, those babies come out mutated with part Tyranid DNA. And then as those people, they form a group called a gene stealer cult. And then as those mutated people breed in generation, the children become less mutated until they can perfectly blend in and hide in society. The big thing, though, that you can pick them all out is evidently all of them are hairless. So they're bald, no hair anywhere on their body. Men, women. I don't even know if you can call them men or women anymore. Males, females. But anyways, they form this thing known as a gene stealer cult. And they idolize the hive mind. They have different names for it, different words for it. It becomes their god. And they're all just puppets. They're just puppets of the hive mind. They don't understand that, but they are. And I think that's one of the coolest things for me, because not just as a Tyranid player, because I've played Tyranids for 20 years now, there's no other army that's like it. And it's cool that, to ally with them as a Tyranid player. That's a lot of fun. So, while the Lictors are assassinating people and sabotaging things, the Gene Stealers, they form this cult. And then as the offspring of the cult become more easily able to hide in society, those people then gain political power. They infiltrate the Imperial Guard on a planet and they become high-ranking officers. They become wealthy merchants. So then, we're all in the cult. I'm a wealthy merchant. My cousin Billy is going to move to that other planet in the system, and he brought his family there with him. So then they infiltrate other planets, and they spread throughout a system, starting to infiltrate, and infect. Phase 1. So it's at this point in time that once the Lictors feel like they've got every piece of information that is useful to them, and they could spend centuries doing this, decades, centuries, whatever it takes, really, then they kind of switch into murder mode, and they start trying to make society fall apart. Like I said before, they can poison things, they can assassinate things, they can blow things up, they frame other countries for false flag operations, and they sow as much distress as they can. All the while, like I was talking about, the Gene Stealer cults, they become presidents of nations, they get involved in the church of the emperor, and you got to remember that the leader of the Gene Stealer cult becomes this thing called a patriarch, and they're a very psionically gifted individual, whether they know it or not, so then they can use their psychic powers to affect people's minds and do all kinds of things. And all they really know is that they have to become wealthy or powerful politically or militarily, and that they are, crazy fanatically dedicated to their family and their religion, which is the cult, of course. And that's all they know, because the Star Gods, not C10, but the Star Gods are going to send their angels, and they're going to come rescue us from this existence, and we'll go to heaven with them, right? Because it's a cult, okay? So they become ready for the arrival of the Hive Fleet. So while the Lictor final stage is murder mode, the Gene Stealer cult, which I got a picture of them right here. The Gene Stealer cult, their final phase is the more of them that are gathered together, they create this psychic presence, this psychic choir, if you will, that the Hive Fleet can sense. The tendrils have organs and cilia and things like that that can sense their presence, and it calls out to them, and that's how the Hive Fleet knows where to go. It's drawn to the Gene Stealer cults or the Lictors. It's drawn to them, and then the tendrils will start drifting that way. And then we get into phase 2, which is going to be invasion. I'm not going to cover invasion in this video because there's so much that goes into invasion. Just like there's probably going to be a step 3, it's probably going to be a 3-part video. But go ahead in the comments, let me know what you think. I think it's really well thought out. I think it's really cool. I am excited to play Tyranids. We here at the Dragon's Lair understand that you can spend your time anywhere on the internet, so we want to say thank you for spending your time here with us at the Dragon's Lair.